Now, speaking of things that actually do have a deeper story to tell,
Yes.
Clint Eastwood's The Mule.
Yes. One of his last acting credits, if I'm not mistaken. In addition to directing the movie. Yes. This movie is actually, I think, loosely based on a true story. Where so Clint Eastwood plays Earl Stone, who is a 90-year-old horticulturalist uh, from like suburban Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
And he's, we're introduced to him, and he's, he shows up to one of these horticulturist conventions or award ceremony, and he's yucking it up with everybody, and he's like, all happy and like, hey, how's it going? And
Life of the party has to be the center of everything. Buys drinks for the whole bar because he's doing so well for himself.
yeah, but in reality, he is missing his daughter's wedding
Right at that moment.
Yeah. Yeah, and then we fast forward 12 years. So yeah, that part of the movie was in 2005. So then
Yeah.
we yeah, and then so then we fast forward to 12 years to whatever 2017, and his business, he's gone out of business because of that dang internet.
Which that's interesting that the internet would disrupt his business, because I would think that as a horticulturalist, like, that's harder to ship.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe it's more just his outmoded style of like being a traveling salesman type.
Yeah. Probably, yeah, yeah, because that's part of his character, is that he's been to 41 of the 50 states, and he just drives around. And he shows up to his granddaughter's engagement party, or rehearsal
Yeah,
dinner,
engagement party. Yeah.
engagement party, yeah. And of course, he has a rather bad little confrontation with his daughter and his ex-wife. Ex-wife is played by what was her name? Diane Wiest, and she's an actress who's been around. She's kind of one of these character actresses. She's been around
Mm-hmm.
for a very long time. And actually, his daughter is played by his real life daughter. Yeah, Allison Eastwood. So yeah, so the second movie that Eastwood movie we've watched where he cast one of his daughters in there.
Well, why not?
Yeah, yeah. And so, but at the engagement party, he meets a friend of one of his granddaughter's bridesmaids, and he works for the cartel, and wants to offer him a job because he likes to drive around, and he's an old man. He's very cautious. He's never gotten a ticket in his life.
Yep.
Yeah. And so that's from there he starts his life, his new career as a drug mule.
Yep. Now, I would say that this kind of acts as, this is mainly a character study,
Mm-hmm.
which means that you do have some, maybe not quite is indulgent the right word, or just like very deliberate. Like, he's just really trying to paint a picture of this guy.
I think deliberate's probably the right word, which most of Eastwood's movies are like that, where he's very deliberately trying to establish who the people are. Actually, I think most of his movies are character studies. Now that I think about it,
Yeah.
and he takes his time to actually show who these people are.
Right.
To give them a sense of their personality and their backstory, so that once what happens in the movie happens, it's either not surprising or it's like, oh, that's not good.
The other thing I'll say for him is that unlike a lot of characters, like I'll say Stallone definitely has a groove that he almost always goes into when he's creating a movie.
Yeah.
Eastwood, he never seems to really play the same character twice. Like Dirty Harry is a different character than his character from Unforgiven is different than like outside of sequels like the Fistful of Dollars movies, of course. But
yeah, or something like you've probably never seen Firefox.
I have not. No.
No, that was another one of his movies. It was a Cold War movie where he plays a fighter pilot. He has to go to the Soviet Union to steal a experimental fighter jet that can be piloted by thought.
Okay, I forgot to mention this earlier when you were doing Life Force, but
yeah,
I think one of the biggest impacts that Harry Potter has had on Western media is it just completely destroyed the prevalence of psychics in media, psychic and psychic phenomena. Like it just made people very much more comfortable with going, yeah, it's magic. What of
it? Yeah.
As opposed to like trying to go, oh yeah, it's psychic, and there's some conventional science says that there's nothing to psychics, but there's vibrations and stuff. But no, it's just magic. Just
yeah. A wizard did it.
Yes, much cleaner.
Yeah.
But speaking of things that aren't clean, though, it's like I'm trying to imagine Stallone's version of the Mule. I could not see Stallone voluntarily being a character who had abandoned his family for no reason other than a self-gratification. It would have had to have been like, oh, he was in a POW camp, or his best friend needed his help because he was in trouble with the mob or something, like
or a relative who's sick and he's got to pay their medical bills and he needs money. Yeah,
right. That's why he starts driving. Nah. The Mule is Earl Stone. The Mule is a very selfish man.
Oh yes, extremely selfish. Yeah.
I would almost say he's a sociopath, except that he does seem to have some sort of conscience.
Yeah. Every now and then, he'll kind of like stand up for somebody, or he'll kind of, if something's, somebody's doing something that even somebody crosses the line that even he wouldn't cross, he'd be like, no, I'm not doing that.
Right. But like he's like, he'll do things like when he's been explicitly told by his handlers, no extra stops. He stops to help a couple on the side of the road.
Yeah. They stop at a barbecue restaurant to get a pulled pork sandwich.
Well, why are we here? Because this is the best pulled pork sandwich in the state.
Yeah.
Like he's very he's not like clinically psychopathic or unable to understand the feelings of others. He just doesn't put a whole lot of value on them. He wants freedom. He wants to do what he wants when he wants it.
Yeah. And you definitely see that when people start telling him what to do, he really doesn't like it.
No, he does not.
Yeah.
I mean, probably spent like at least 50 years running his own business and being his own boss. He's not used to taking orders.
Yeah, which I personally I can relate to that. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, and of course, at first when he's earning the money, he's putting it towards like kind of good things. So like like paying for his granddaughter's wedding and
helping the local VFW.
Yeah. And or paying for his granddaughter's to go to beautician school, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But but most of the time, like you kind of feel like he's just doing it because he wants to do it, and not necessarily. And I think getting the money too really, because every time he opens up an envelope, He just sees this stack of cash in there. He's like, oh, okay.
Yep. And also, when you think about it, he is kind of the perfect character to be a drug mule for the Mexican cartel, because who would possibly think it was him?
Yeah. Yeah, he's old guy driving around. Yeah.
Old white guy driving around.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he does have some close calls in there, which he handles pretty darn well. It's actually like it seems random at first, but I think in retrospect he had planned all of these out as ways to distract people in case he was pulled over.
Yeah. Yeah.
So like he isn't completely spontaneous. He's a very nice complex character that's just interesting to think and talk about.
Yeah, he is. And of course, then there's another subplot with these DEA agents. One of them's played by Bradley Cooper, and then the other one was his partner was Michael Pena, the guy from the Ant-Man movies, who talks really fast.
Which it's yet another movie kind of like a Working Man, where it's like, oh man, Michael Pena is in it. I'm so excited. Oh, he's a very minor character. Oh,
yeah. I did like so one of the things that they do is they get a guy in the cartel to be a snitch for him, and there's a scene in the movie where they're sitting in the truck, and Michael Pena tells him, hey, if you can think of anybody else to snitch on, just think about it, what did he say, ruminate on that, while we're waiting.
Yeah, it occurs to me we've kind of left out the DEA agent characters. They're kind of more just foils. Like they don't have a lot of character growth. They're just a antagonistic force in the background that eventually comes to the foreground.
Yeah.
We've kind of neglected the cartel itself a bit, because those are the characters he's talking to the most.
Yeah, and then there are different, obviously, like a lot, like every cartel, there are different groups of them around, and what was interesting is that after a while, like the more he starts hanging around with these guys, the more they start liking him.
Right. That's another part of his character, is that he's just very personable.
Yeah.
But it's like the sort of surface level personable. Like you wouldn't want to have to depend on him for anything. Like if you needed a ride to the airport, you would not ask him to do it for you.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and the cartel's led by I can't remember the character, but he's played by the name of the character. He's played by Andy Garcia, and this is actually the second time I've seen Andy Garcia playing the head of a drug cartel. The first time was in Landman. Oh, I think I think that's his new niche now as an actor.
Not the worst niche.
No. But yeah, Garcia really likes him because he's he's kooky old man, yeah, but hey, he delivers the product when he needs it delivered, and he's an old guy, so nobody questions what he's nobody questions where he's driving around.
Yep. There's a younger cartel person who's his main handler, who I forget his name, but he is much more type A and unhappy about this whole situation, because he doesn't like dealing with this old coot.
Right. Yeah. He didn't like babysitting him. Yeah.
But so like whoever his actor is, and they don't have a picture here that I recognize on IMDb, so my apologies. I don't want to just, and a bunch of these actors don't actually have a photo on IMDb, which is interesting.
Yeah.
So I wonder if they were just relative unknowns that he plucked in for the movie.
Probably,
But,
yeah.
But the handler character also does a good job, and I think the other thing that's interesting about the Mule as a character, about Earl Stone as a character, is that okay. So last week's movie, American Gangster, did not shy away in the slightest about showing you just the negative impact that drugs can have on a community.
Oh yeah, yeah,
This,
yeah, and yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
this movie, not so much. Like basically, you never see anybody actually doing drugs. It's all just it's basically he delivers a few hundred keys of cocaine to a location, gets his pile of money, and doesn't think about it again.
Yeah.
So even as he's using his money to do good things for his family and community and himself, there's a lot of human suffering baked into that.
Yeah. Yeah, and like you said, they don't touch on that, and for people who do that, the mules, that they just drive the drugs around. They don't think about that. They're just thinking, I got to get from point A to point B, get my money, and then go and do it all over again.
Yep.
Yeah.
But and so what's funny is that as I went through the movie and was realizing, oh wait, he isn't really all that good of a guy. It suddenly answered the question I had early on, like, well, why would he do this outside of desperation? Like, oh no, I think he would have done this out of boredom, just to make a bunch of easy money, even if he wasn't in danger of having his house depossessed.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Or
I could
repossessed,
see
excuse
that.
me.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I can see that. Yeah, because it's just there's his personality type. Yeah.
Oh, the other funny thing that kept happening. Okay, so Clint Eastwood, uh, director, actor, not one of the writers, but the director gets to decide what happens in the movie ultimately, right?
Yeah, yeah. I think I know where you're going with this.
Um, so it's very important in this scene that we focus on her butt while she's
Yeah,
dancing with my character. Man, make it and also he needs to be able to, he needs to go in and get a handful of that.
yeah.
Mr. Eastwood, you already had a scene where your character had a three-way with prostitutes. Do we need another one? No, it's symbolic. It represents how he's torn between two attractive things.
Yeah. Yeah. uh, yeah, I gotta love Clint.
Maybe just a teensy bit of wish fulfillment in there.
Maybe a little, yeah. Yeah.
But I don't want to get into the ending because it kind of ends like you would expect it to end.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just an all-around good movie.
Yeah. It's it's solid. It's a solid movie. It's um not Clint Eastwood's best movie, but certainly, he brought his A game, and
Right. Right. This isn't Unforgiven, but it's still a worthy movie.
oh yeah, yeah. Yeah, this is on, what did we watch this? Netflix?
Netflix, I think it's also on Max or HBO Max or whatever it is now that they've reversed direction on that
Yeah.
because it is a Warner Brothers movie.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but like, the way I'll put it is, it's like a lot of movies we end up reviewing for this channel are kind of like white bread or white rice, where like there's like it's just a quick sugar hit and then you move on. This is like whole wheat, or this is like a full filling meal where like I was just remembering the movie and thinking about it for days afterwards. So it's definitely a worthwhile experience.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah. And I will say Clint Eastwood has that effect on people, it seems, with his movies. Just, like Unforgiven, like I still think about that movie every now and then.
Yeah, he knows how to pick them and he knows how to make them.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
But also apparently his very last acting role in a movie at this point is Cry Macho.
Oh, that's right.
This was his second to last.
Okay. But yeah, I think we've said all we need to say for tonight.
Indeed.
Well, thank you everybody for tuning in. We appreciate it as always. Hit the like button.